One day, an evil Percy was pulling a freight train. Attendants, freight cars, and vans. He was carrying a sort of long freight train. Thomas saw evil Percy. Thomas quickly set off to try to stop the evil Percy. I must stop him! Evil Percy was still carrying his freight train. But then, he saw a border that led straight into the city. Percy continued going. Evil Percy continued going, and he crashed. Evil Percy. I don't know how to do it. Evil Percy continued going, and he crashed into the border. Take 3. Evil Percy continued going, and he crashed through the border. The border fell, and it splashed into the sea. Evil Percy, stop! But he bumped into Evil Percy's train a little too hard. Evil Percy jumped forward some more. Evil Percy was dangling over the edge. But the coupling snapped. No, yes. And Evil Percy fell off the edge and was falling. He splashed into the sea. Thomas was frightened. Push, laughed the cars. The trucks and vans were pushing each other, and one by one they were falling off the edge. Thomas was afraid that some of them weren't gonna be able to get pulled out. No, said Thomas, as he quickly stopped to go backwards. Thomas went to get the breakdown shirt. Meanwhile, Boulder was resting on top of his mountain. He was standing on a thin edge. But then Boulder started to move. Boulder was going to fall off the edge. At last, he did. Boulder fell off his mountain and onto Evil Percy's track. Boulder was rolling faster and faster, and he hit Evil Percy's train. The coupling was on the cars, and they fell off the edge. Same for Boulder. The trucks and vans fell into the sea. Same for the brakeman. Boulder, however, was rescued and put back on his mountain. Where he fell off again. This time with an even bigger drop. Thomas couldn't find the breakdown train, and he continued to buff along. Where he soon stopped because the tracks ended. Oh no, I do not want to fall into the sea. Boulder hit other mountains and bounced off others. But then he was falling onto the track. Boulder hit the tracks. Boulder splashed into the sea. Thomas was rescued by Cranky. and he was soon put onto the tracks. However, he was in great bit of danger. The tracks started to slip some more. Thomas carefully put backwards. But then the broken piece of track finally slipped off, and it fell into the sea. However, a giant dinosaur skeleton was falling. And Thomas was keeping the tracks from falling off. But then Thomas looked up, only to find a giant T-Rex skeleton falling. Thomas thought it was a skeleton, but it actually was a statue. At last, the dinosaur... At last, the dinosaur skeleton hit the tracks. So Soda was in great danger of collapsing. But then another boulder was falling. It hit the tracks, making the tracks fall even more. Even more with Thomas stranded. At last, the tracks finally started to tip. Oh. Thomas had his brakes on, and Thomas had his brakes on as hard as he could. At last, the tracks finally fell with Thomas still on them. The bridge was no more. Or Thomas. It was no more. Thomas and evil Percy. And Soda were all no more. At last, when morning finally came, Harold the helicopter saw the damage. At last, the Thomas the Toy Train era was no more.